Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Travel Time Stories. If this is your first time tuning in, I invite you to go back and check out my previous episodes. On this week's episode, I talk about my cruise on Celebrity Equinox to the ABC Islands, and I also offer a little travel tip. I've put links in the description below for things mentioned during this episode. I am your host, Shannon from Texas, and thank you for tuning in. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it. In 2023, Anne and I sailed out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, aboard Celebrity Equinox for 9 days to the ABC Islands. That's Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And we also had a stop at Grand Cayman. This was another first itinerary for us, and Anne's first time sailing on Celebrity. We both flew into Fort Lauderdale, which is a very easy airport to navigate. As usual, we flew in the day before our cruise, and I booked a room for us at the Marriott Fort Lauderdale Airport on Compass Way. It was the perfect location, with lots of dining, shopping, and a nice park close by. The hotel was very nice, and we really enjoyed it. We will stay here again if we cruise out of Fort Lauderdale. They do offer a shuttle package to the cruise port, and we had paid for this. However, when we checked in, they did not inform us that we needed to sign up for a specific shuttle time. Instead, we were just told the shuttle runs every half hour. This was a not so great start to our cruise morning the next day. After we got checked into our room, we went out to explore the area and grab some lunch. We ended up at First Watch for lunch, and it was very good. We did some shopping, and then we returned to our hotel and just ate dinner at the hotel restaurant. The next morning, we grabbed some breakfast at the hotel restaurant again, got our bags, and came down to check out and grab the shuttle, or at least that's what we thought. At the checkout, we asked if the shuttle would be leaving at 10:30. That is when they asked if we were on the list. I said we paid for the shuttle package, so we should be on the list. They informed us we had to sign up at check-in for a shuttle time and that they should have told us that. I explained they did not. We were only told the shuttle runs every 30 minutes, and nothing was said about needing to sign up for a specific time. She checked our reservation and confirmed that yes, we had the shuttle package, but since we had not signed up for a shuttle time, they were completely full. They couldn't take any more people for the 10:30 or the 11 o'clock shuttle time. The next availability they had was at 1 p.m. I explained our check-in time for the port was 11:30, so the 1 p.m. was unacceptable, especially since it was an error on their part for not letting us know when we checked in, and we had specifically asked about the shuttle. I asked them to resolve this situation by reimbursing my fees for the shuttle package, since I couldn't utilize that service, and we would now have to pay for an Uber because we weren't going to wait until 1 p.m. She stated a manager was needed to issue the refund, and they were all in a meeting and could not be disturbed. I explained to her that I know that is not correct and politely asked her to call a manager to come address the situation. She again stated she couldn't, but we could just submit a reimbursement later. We did wait around for a bit, hoping to be able to speak to someone else, but when it was clear that wasn't going to happen, we just ordered our Uber for the port and went on our way. I'm not going to stand around and waste time over $30. Our Uber driver was great, and it was the first time we experienced great security at the port. They don't play around in Fort Lauderdale. There is a gate when you drive into the port manned by port security, and they check everyone in the vehicle's passports and IDs. After that, we were dropped off at our terminal. We handed our luggage over to our porters and proceeded to our check-in line. Once again, it was a smooth, quick check-in process, and we were seated with our group waiting to board. As we waited, one of the celebrity employees was doing a fantastic job of getting everyone pumped up and excited for boarding. When it was our time for our group, they ensured everyone headed to the gangway in an orderly fashion. Anne and I were doing a little dance as we walked down the gangway toward the beautiful celebrity equinox. First step on the ship, and you know what I'm going to say. It was another jaw drop moment, especially for Anne since this was her first time on a celebrity ship. The Celebrity Equinox is one of the Solstice class ships, and that's the same as the one Jeff and I sailed on in Alaska. So I was already familiar with the layout for the ship, which made it very nice. For Anne, she had started at the lower end of the ships with our first sailing on the Norwegian Jewel, then moved up with our sailings on Carnival, and now she was experiencing one of the top-tier cruise lines. I have nothing bad to say about all the cruise lines, but when you try out different ones, you can really see a difference in not only the ships themselves, but the level of service, the amenities, and the food, along with the atmosphere or vibe. You also experience differences when you cruise different itineraries, not only in the different ports you visit, but on the ships themselves. For this cruise, we had an inside cabin and we loved it. A couple of cool things about the ship is they have a lawn on one of the upper decks. Yes, you heard that correct. A lawn on a cruise ship. There is also a tree hanging in the atrium, and so as you go up in the glass elevator, you pass by it. Very cool. You can also take a class in glass blowing. The casino on celebrity ships is non-smoking, so for those who complain about smoke, this is a plus for you. The food in the buffet is so good. We ate there every night instead of in the main dining room. The hummus station at the buffet is my favorite, with so many different flavors to choose from. Anne, who has never liked hummus, tried it and actually liked it. They also have a station with a variety of meats, cheeses, and other items, so you can make your own little charcuterie plate. The shows on board were next level. We went to every single one. We also didn't miss the comedy club, as it is our favorite. And yes, we are those people that like the dirty, raunchy humor. This is the first cruise that Anne and I met some people on board who we hung out with both on and off the ship. The first couple we met were from Louisiana, and we learned that the wife was on dialysis. Jeff had only been on dialysis for a few months at this time, so I was still trying to learn all about it, and this couple were kind enough to share their story and provide us with valuable information, and were such a pleasure to hang out with. I hope and pray they are doing well. Our two favorite hangout spots on the ship were the Martini Bar and the Sky Observation Lounge. We ate at one of the specialty restaurants called La Petite Chef, and it was so much fun. It is an interactive experience. This is great for both adults and kids. Plus, the food was amazing. Our first stop was Grand Cayman, so we spent this port day on the ship. We love a good, quiet, chill day on the ship. We slept in, enjoyed having the pool to ourselves, ate a lot of food, and played some trivia games. Next up was A for Aruba. My only knowledge about Aruba prior to booking this cruise was unfortunately from the 2005 disappearance, search, and death of the high schooler Natalie Holloway. Such a horrible tragedy to happen and bleak reminder to stay vigilant when you're traveling. In my research for this cruise, I learned there is so much to see and do on this beautiful island. Plus, it's only 70 square miles. Aruba offers more than just beautiful beaches. There are several caves on the island, tide pools and coves, natural bridges, and off-road adventures, plus great hiking. We decided to rent a Jeep and explore on our own versus booking an excursion. I had a printed map of the island, had mapped out several points of interest for us, which included time at the beach. We really enjoy exploring on our own as it gives us the freedom to go at our own pace, which means spending as little or as much time at certain places. Plus, we're not locked into only seeing certain built in stops like you are with the excursion groups. We reserved a Jeep rental through Top Drive. All of their vehicles are newer and very well kept, plus, they have great customer service. To pick up our vehicle, we had to take a taxi from the port to one of the nearby resorts called Montego Beach Resort and Spa. It was a short taxi ride that cost about $20. There was a little flub up at the rental office. They told me they did not show my reservation, but they were super nice, and when I showed them my emails, which confirmed, they were able to get us a vehicle pretty quick. The issue was I had waited till the last minute to book our rental. Actually, I did it the day before while we were on the ship, and due to Wi-Fi issues, my acceptance email was delayed in getting to them, so it didn't get put into the system before they closed that evening. This is why I say they have great customer service, because the error was on my part, yet they still accommodated us, and we even were given a better Jeep than what we had reserved at no extra charge. They also provided us with a map of the island, which was better than the one I had printed out. The ABC Islands are located in the trade winds, and I had heard about this but never experienced it till Aruba. Let's just say they are no joke. The whole time on the island, we had to deal with this. Our hats would not stay on our heads, so we just finally gave up. All of our photos pretty much have our hair blowing around or in our face, which is hilarious. And it blows you around when you're out walking, even big girls like me. Two things we love to see on our trips is beautiful architecture and visiting the local churches, especially the old ones rich in history. This is why we chose to visit Alto Vista Chapel in Aruba. It is rich in Catholic heritage, and this little chapel is a testament to that, with its origins that can be traced back to 1750 when it was built by a Spanish missionary. It is a small, charming place of worship, set against picturesque panoramic views of the coastline and surrounded by cacti. It is a very tranquil location and draws in a lot of visitors. The chapel's iconic white cross located at the front of the entrance is a beacon of hope and faith. The modest interior adds to its peacefulness and provides a serene place for contemplation and prayer. Anne and I both took the time to say a prayer for Jeff during our visit here. We visited the Aruba aloe vera factory to see how they grow and transform aloe vera into many products that are sold here on the island. It was very fascinating, and they even have samples of all the products that you can try before you buy them. The prices are expensive at the factory, and we were able to find the same products in the local shops for less money. We visited the famous California Lighthouse, which was named after the SS California that sunk in 1910. Incredible views of the western coastline. Downtown Aruba is a bustling place with bars, restaurants, casinos, shopping, and more. You have to pay to park, and finding public parking can be confusing, so be prepared. The first place we pulled into, which appeared to be public parking, actually was not, so we had to back out and try again. We finally found parking a few blocks away after having to circle through several times. Just in the nick of time, too, because we were both getting very hangry. We found a really neat little spot to eat called Salt and Pepper Tapas Bar and Restaurant, and would definitely recommend it, not just for the food, but it has great decor. Let me add that in Aruba, they have a lot of roundabouts, so if you're not familiar or have used them before, be prepared. They are different than the ones you may have seen or driven, as theirs are marked with little speed bump dividers. At least that's what I'm calling them. So if you aren't in the right lane when you enter the roundabout, you can't just move over. You'll have to go around, then move over to the correct lane. We learned this the hard way and both had a great laugh. I quoted National Lampoon's European Vacation. Oh, there's Big Ben. Oh, there's Big Ben again. And we both had a great laugh. The food in Aruba was delicious, with plenty of options to choose from. While on the island, we were curious about what their supermarkets had to offer and what the prices were compared to home. Plus, we wanted to get some chocolates and snacks for our cabin steward, so we stopped at one of the local supermarkets. It was a fun experience, but we quickly saw how high the prices were compared to back home. Obviously, it's an island. We had a full day on the island, but still left many things unexplored, so we hope to return again. C is for Curacao, which is our next stop. I know we're out of alphabetical order. This is a very walkable port with a lot to see and do within walking distance. Our plan was to just explore on foot, and that is what we did. We were invited by our new friends to hang out with them at this port. They had been here before, so we had the benefit of their expertise. The island's capital is called Willemstad and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and has been since 1997 due to its rich cultural heritage and having over 700 preserved buildings and monuments from the 17th and 18th century. So it's a great place to visit if you're a history buff. The community here is very welcoming and has over 55 nationalities, so you can imagine the food scene is off the charts. The island is located outside the hurricane belt, which makes it a great place to visit year-round. This is where they make the blue Curacao liqueur, and you can visit the distillery and get a sample. When you arrive in Curacao, you notice the vibrant, colorful houses and buildings that make up the waterfront, and this is called the Heidelskad. You notice the one-story row houses that are arranged in a steeped formation. It offers 35 beautiful beaches, great snorkeling and diving spots, mountainous hiking, great local art scene, forts, and museums. You can drive across the iconic Queen Juliana Bridge, which is the tallest in the Caribbean, at 185 feet high, or walk across the Queen Emma Floating Footbridge. The floating bridge is an engineer marvel and swings open to allow ships to pass through. You can stand on the bridge and the alarm sounds when a ship is approaching and the bridge is going to swing open. It was really fun to experience. There are different districts. Hello, can we say Hunger Games? And each district has unique things to see and do. District Punda was once under Spanish control, but the Dutch were able to claim it. This is evident in the architecture, and this district is a pedestrian-only, offering many shops and cafes. They also have a great Jewish museum. When you cross the Queen Emma floating bridge, you enter District Otrabanda, which means the other side. It was established in 1707 because they ran out of room in Punda. This side has Riff Fort, which is a World Heritage Site, and the Renaissance Mall, which has been transformed into a beautiful waterfront area with restaurants, stores, and local musicians performing. District Paitermai is a trendy Soho area with a bohemian chic style, making it very Insta-worthy. After a full day exploring with our new friends and eating some great food at one of the local restaurants, we returned to the ship. B is for Bonaire, which was our final stop on this cruise. This island is known for having some of the best scuba diving in the world. The coastline is lined with reef and protected by Bonaire National Marine Park, and has a rich marine life along with many lizards, donkeys, and birds, which includes the flamingo habitat. The island is very small, and many people rent golf carts to tour around the island. We opted to take a tour with a beach day through the cruise line. Our tour took us all around the island, stopping at all the points of interest, and our guide told us the history of the island as we went. We got to stop and take some pictures at the saltwater lagoon in the northern part of the island. Bonaire has a large flamingo population, specifically the Caribbean flamingo, which is the island's national bird. There are a few places to see them on the island, especially during breeding season, which is January to July. Seeing them in the wild with their young was a great experience. Flamingos are not born pink. They get their pink color from their diet of rosy brine shrimp. The shrimp are also the reason the salt ponds on the island look pink. After our island tour, they took us to one of the beach resorts where we were able to order food and drinks. They provided us a cabana on the beach. We were able to soak up some sun and swim in the beautiful ocean for a few hours before we returned to the port. The Southern Caribbean was a different experience than the Eastern or Western Caribbean. We look forward to booking a trip to see the other islands, which include Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, the Grenadines, Dominica, and Martinique. If you haven't visited the Southern Caribbean, I suggest you consider it for your next vacation. We will be taking a cruise in October to visit the Virgin Islands and San Juan, which has been on our to-do list for a while. The night before disembarkation, Anne was not feeling well, and we first thought it was just a stomach bug. However, the next morning for disembarkation, she was worse and had a cough. I immediately started to think, this isn't good. Thankfully, we were about to get off the ship, and I could go to the pharmacy or take her to urgent care if needed. When we returned to Fort Lauderdale, I had booked us a room at the Riverside Hotel, based on a recommendation from one of my colleagues who is also my friend and lives in the area. Shout out to Janine! We had planned to meet her for dinner and drinks that evening, but unfortunately, we were unable to make that happen. Next time we sail from Fort Lauderdale, we will definitely meet up. We made it to our hotel and got checked in. Anne was insisting that she was fine, so we went out to get some lunch and check out the area since we were right on the canal with all the big yachts and the water taxis. The Riverside Hotel is very nice and bougie, with an amazing staff and comfortable rooms. This area of town has a lot to offer with many restaurants and shopping within walking distance. The hotel also offers a beautiful courtyard with water fountains, tropical flowers, and at night in the lobby, there's a piano player. That night we were sitting out in the courtyard and there were families with children. As I sat down on one of the benches, I noticed an envelope laying there. Me, being the nosy person I am, picked it up to see what it was, or if there was a name on it so I could return it. No names, but the envelope wasn't sealed, so I opened it and noticed it was photos but couldn't see anything beyond that. I decided to look at the photos to see if it was possibly someone who was out in the courtyard so I could return it. Big mistake. As they say, curiosity killed the cat. In this case, curiosity killed my eyes. Anne said the look on my face as I pulled the photos out of the envelope was priceless. And I can just imagine because I was shocked and then I couldn't stop laughing. The photos were of a woman posing nude and not tastefully done either. I immediately put the photos back in the envelope and we took them to the front desk and let the clerk know what they were. Her face was priceless. Anne was starting to feel worse at this point. I told her the symptoms seemed like COVID to me, and she was telling me, nope, it isn't. But I told her we needed to test to be sure because if it was, there were precautions we needed to take and we needed to change our flight. I found a pharmacy not far from our location, and Anne insisted on going with me, trying to prove that she was okay. The walk ended up being farther than we thought, and we were both exhausted and sweating by the time we got there. And Anne was feeling really, really miserable. She was wearing her mask as a precaution to protect others, just in case. And I told her to wait and I would go inside to buy the test, but instead she barges right in and tells the pharmacist she thinks she has COVID and needs to buy a test. His face and the way he backed up very quickly was hilarious. I bought a few tests and we left. There was a gelato next door, and we were both so hot and sweaty that I grabbed us a gelato and we sat on the bench to eat before we returned to the hotel. At the hotel, I made Ann take the test, and she stated the whole time, "It's not COVID." Within a few seconds, the stick lit up like a Christmas tree, and I had to break the news to her that it was positive for COVID. She still didn't believe it, so a couple more tests later, and she finally accepted her fate. She had been COVID free this whole time, and we had cruised before and got lucky with not catching it. But this was our fated trip. There was a lot of crying from her, but then we had to make the calls to let people know and to arrange our travel. We were now in quarantine mode, and I was praying that I wouldn't get it, but I knew my fate was sealed because we had been sharing a room on the ship and currently at the hotel. I knew I couldn't return to Texas until I was certain I was in the clear because of Jeff's illness. I couldn't risk exposing him. Plus, I knew Ann needed someone to care for her, so I returned to Missouri with Ann. I had been symptom-free until we got to Missouri, and then the symptoms began with the aches and progressed from there. I immediately called my doctor in Texas and let him know what was going on. He sent out medications to the pharmacy in Missouri and checked up on me throughout my illness. Shout out to Dr. Antonio. They don't make 'em like you anymore. You are the best superstar doctor. Ann got medications too, and we both did our best to care for one another and suffer through the COVID together. It was no joke. The worst illness I have ever gone through, and I pray I never get it again. My travel tip: be prepared as best you can for emergency situations when you travel, and be willing to be flexible. Things happen when you travel that can be out of your control, and even out of the control of the cruise line or airline that you're traveling on. So keep this in mind and have contingency plans if possible. And be willing to acknowledge what is or isn't the fault of the carrier you're traveling with. Don't blame them or badmouth them for things that are beyond their control. Natural disasters are beyond everyone's control, and the carrier isn't to blame for your plans getting disrupted or canceled due to a natural disaster. They should be given kudos because they're doing their best to keep you safe by not traveling during a natural disaster or by changing a route to avoid a natural disaster. Did you buy travel insurance? No? Then if you need to blame someone, blame yourself. Let's all try to be kinder to one another and think things through before we just start bad-mouthing someone or blaming others for something that is out of our control. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I will continue more of my personal story in upcoming episodes, so stay tuned. In next week's episode, I will be hosting another special guest. You have heard about her in all my previous episodes. She is my partner in crime and the other half of the dynamic duo, my sister Ann. She will be joining me to discuss how we met, but also discuss our first trip by land to New Orleans. You do not want to miss that episode. It will be a fun time. My hope is for everyone to make memories for life through travel. So reach out and let me help you make your next travel memory. Tune in again to learn some more about me, hear more about each of my trips, and meet other people in my life as they share their travel experiences. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, it's free, and share this on social media with your friends so you can help me grow my channel. Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts about this episode, or what you want to hear more of, or just ask me a question. Or you can also tell me your travel story. I might just read it on the podcast or invite you on as a special guest. Until next time.